The executive orders and your process speak to looking for ways to make rules more tailored, more effective, more efficient. We have our own, we at the IA have our own regulatory reform task force, and some of them are here in this room.
Yeah, as you remind me, I think on a monthly basis we can come in on these sorts of things. So
we have some areas that in which we think there could be streamlined regulation and updating of old regulations. I know many people have heard me harp on this for many years, the advertising rule. For example, last really addressed substantively in 1961 before the internet. You know, for example, when we were still on typewriters. So, you know, there are a number of areas where we would like to weigh in, as well as on, for example, as you mentioned, tailoring to different sized businesses. Right. We have some proposals that we would like to chat with the Commission about with respect to the definition of small business and how you take that into account. Right now, the definition doesn't really capture most of the small businesses in the investment advisor community. What is the process that you're going to engage in to take feedback from the investment advisor community? Yeah, and you've also, the custody rule is another one. That is always sort of on the bullet point list for things. We have a unique opportunity right now, and when I first came in, I think it was my second week as acting chairman, I had a town hall with our staff. And mentioned a number of things to them, and one of them was that there is a unique opportunity now that we're taking a pause in our Dodd-Frank rulemaking, and I've announced we're going to just take a pause until we figure out where Congress is going to go on various things, and where the Department of Labor is going to go on the fiduciary duty rule and those sorts of things. And that now opens us up to have a lot of staff-driven ideas come up to the Commission. Maybe things that haven't gotten on the agenda for the last 6.5 years because they've been sort of crowded out by Dodd-Frank rulemaking, but yet are things that we should be doing or should be thinking about, you know, retrospective review of existing rules. You know, I'd like to, you know, start looking back, you know, what have we done in the last 10 years? And you point out something that hasn't been done since 1961. Yesterday we had an open meeting and we put out a request for comment on an industry guide for banks that had not been updated since 1986. There are a lot of these things that, you know, in the absence of having this crowding out from Dodd-Frank and other sorts of things, that we can now start to take a look at. And I've asked, when I talk to staff, I said, you know, start bringing those ideas up through the division directors, and maybe we can try to get them on the agenda for the Commission. And for you all, what that means is continued engagement with staff on, you know, some hyper-technical ideas that, you know, aren't going to make headlines in, you know, in the newspapers or whatever, but we don't care, right? We're at our best when we're a nice little boring regulatory agency that kind of does our job. And, you know, discretionary rulemaking, where we identify market failures, either, you know, through our conversations with market participants, and fashion regulation on a discretionary basis in that one. So continued engagement in staff now is the opportune time to start to do those things. And, you know, we've got a couple other things right now. We're down to 2 members on the Commission, Commissioner Stein and myself, a Republican and a Democrat, and so by definition, for anything to get through, has to be a consensus basis thing. We had 4 items yesterday that we were able to do. We've got some other ones teed up during my acting chairmanship. At some point, hopefully in the near future, Jay Clayton will be confirmed as our new chairman. And even if that happens, what I'd like to do is put up sort of what we call mom and apple pie type issues that, you know, even if he comes on as chairman, he'll say, yes, of course, this is a great thing. We should be doing good government type things that just, you know, need a fresh look. Right, and it's actually, as you point out, an opportune time because you have come out of this intense period of Dodd-Frank implementation, and it could be time to take a breath and a fresh look at what is already out there. Yeah, exactly right. And so, you know, I've talked to, you know, Dave Grimm, the head of our investment management division, about that, and so I think there's an opportune time for you all to go in and talk to the staff on these issues again. Well,